it's serious. I don't think it's a crisis yet, simply because Andrew is so devalued. He's a fringe figure. He's been cast into outer darkness. No one seriously believes that the family are in any way sort of covering up. I mean, he's out on his own.
Now, Buckingham Palace has said tonight that King Charles is ready to support the police if they choose to investigate claims made against his brother Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. New claims are now being assessed by the Thames Valley Force in relation to Andrew's time as a trade envoy. Earlier, a spokesperson for the Prince and Princess of Wales made a similar statement outlining their deep concern over the allegations. Well, Robert Hardman is a royal biographer and joins us now. Good evening to you, Robert.
Evening, Carol.
First of all, this intervention tonight from King Charles saying that he has deep concern over the allegations about his brother Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. I mean, some people might think that perhaps he could have said something like that a little sooner, but also that the palace will support the police if they investigate claims against the former prince. What do you make of those remarks from the king tonight?
Well, I mean, the palace usually trades it's more a case of showing rather than telling. They don't, as a rule, give a running commentary on anything, whatever it might be. It's always been a case of you just get on with it and you get messages across in other ways. I mean, if you think back to that moment when the king took away Andrew's titles and honours and effectively his house before Christmas, I mean, that was very that was at the time. I mean, the severity of that surprised everybody. And that was warmly applauded. I mean, I remember sitting in the Newsnight studio when that news came out, and Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre's family, sort of saluting the king for doing this. So, he was very much ahead of the curve in consigning his brother to a form of internal exile.
And we've now got him saying
in recent days, obviously, it's taken on a new lease of life through the Mandelson affair, and that's sort of really focused on Mandelson mainly. But now, as is the nature of news and of stories, that after a few days, it's well, what about Prince Andrew? So we're back to where we were before. There's not really very much the king can say. I mean, he's said,
except that he's made that point, hasn't he, about the police investigation. And many people would say, well, you would jolly well hope that the Buckingham Palace would support a police investigation.
Well,
But do you think that makes it more likely that we could actually see Prince Andrew being interviewed under caution, perhaps his previous or current homes being raided by the police?
Well, I mean, that this is a new direction in the story, that as we've seen with the sort of the Mandelson side of the story, if you like, where it's moved away from dealings with Epstein, the convicted paedophile, to Epstein, the serially rapacious financier, and who was telling him what. So that's a different. That's taking the story in a different direction. So, who knows? I mean, the palace doesn't know any more than the government. I mean, the government clearly was in the dark about a lot of this stuff, which is why they appointed Peter Mandelson as ambassador. So, I think, as I say, it slightly reminds me of sort of moments in the past where there have been huge national stories, and everyone has said, "Why doesn't the monarch speak out?" And it's really because these are things where, there is a sort of scarcity value. I mean, the monarch is not like a prime minister or a politician who's expected to say something every day. I suspect at some point there probably will be some, very definitive statement, but it's not going to happen on a sort of daily basis.
Well, we've also seen Prince William.
It's not. I mean, it's not like a sort of formal. As far as I know, anyway, it's sort of formal palace statement on headed notepaper. It's a response to a question.
Yeah, and we've also seen Prince William expressing his deep concern about all of this. I mean, when you have Prince William, perhaps him speaking out ahead of his father, the king. And we are still waiting to see what happens with that police investigation into Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. We've already had so much coming from these Epstein files. I mean, just how damaging do you think this is for the royal family as a whole? It's a big question, but just briefly, if you could, Robert.
I think it's serious. I don't think it's a crisis yet, simply because Andrew is so devalued. He's a fringe figure. He's been cast into outer darkness. No one seriously believes that the family are in any way sort of covering up. I mean, he's out on his own. So it's serious. Of course, it's embarrassing. I mean, I think I've been around long enough to remember back in the early '90s. You think of crises like what the Queen called her annus horribilis. I don't think we're at that sort of level, which at times did have a sort of feeling of a sort of existential crisis. I mean, this is bad. However, we don't know how bad it's going to get. Andrew continues to surprise us on an almost daily basis, 15 years after this whole tawdry business started. So let's see. But, I think the palace there's no point the king coming out and saying some definitive statement now when the whole situation can be moving again in the next 48 hours. I think he needs to settle.
Robert Hardman, royal biographer, really good to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.